They tell you to constantly wash your hands, to always wear a mask, and to never touch your face. But why? The answer is the evolution of SARS-CoV-2. SARS-CoV-2 is not the only coronavirus. It is part of the coronavirus family. In this family, coronaviruses can be classified as either alpha, beta, gamma, or delta coronaviruses. The most recent coronaviruses can be classified as beta coronaviruses. Beta coronaviruses are SARS, MERS, and today's top issue, SARS-CoV-2. The difference between SARS-CoV-2 and its sister viruses are its molecular backbone and the receptor binding domain. You might be asking yourself two questions. What is a receptor and what is a receptor binding domain? Receptors are wrench-like proteins that sit on top of host cells. The receptor binding domain tells the COVID cell which receptor to bind to in order to gain entry to the host cell. In this case, COVID-19 cells bind to ACE2 receptors. ACE2 receptors are located in very convenient places. Well, at least for the virus. They are located in the eyes, mouth, nose, and lungs. That is why it's incredibly important not to touch your face, wear a mask to cover your nose, and to constantly wash your hands. Let's get back to the chart. COVID-19 is the disease caused by SARS-CoV-2. COVID-19 has two strains, the S strain, the ancestral strain, and the L strain, the mutated strain. The difference lies in the protein spikes. Protein spikes have two important properties, receptor binding domain and cleavage sites. Both strains bind to the same receptors, but it's how the protein spike binds to the receptor that makes a difference, and where this happens is called a cleavage site. The L strain is much more transmissible than the S strain because its cleavage site is more bindable to the ACE2 receptor. So how do we get infected with COVID-19? Let's say someone who has COVID-19 sneezes. You now breathed in those infected particles. The COVID-19 cell's protein spikes will bind themselves to ACE2 receptors in your nose. If the spike gains entry into the host cell, the cell is now infected. At this stage, the replication of the infected cell begins. These replicated COVID cells go through your respiratory system and into your lungs, where there are more ACE2 receptors. The same process of binding and replicating happens again. Now that your lung cells are infected, they can't do their jobs properly. Your body's response is to send white blood cells. These cells tend to put a lot of pressure on your air sacs. The constant pressure can cause the lungs to collapse. If that person would have worn a mask, the chance of infection would have decreased. Let's circle back. Why? Why is it important to constantly wash your hands? In the case that you do touch your face, you want to make sure your hands are clean and pathogen-free. It's important if you have COVID-19 to wear a mask in order to reduce the spread of infecting particles. It's important for others to wear a mask because we might be walking around feeling fine but still be infected. Again, the ACE2 receptors are found in your eyes, mouth, and nose. Touching your face can increase the chance at infection. That is why doing such small, simple tasks can reduce the risk of infection and can save your life and others' lives too.